Hi everybody, welcome to the stream. Today I think we're gonna finally finish all the map caching we've been writing up for level loading. So let's get started. We left off yesterday working on a /generate cache command from our admin console. And this will allow us to essentially write up all the caches in one go. It'll like load every single level back to back. Now, the way we were gonna do this is originally just run all the load levels, but load level does deferred loading for the loading screen. And so what we need to actually do is put them all into a queue. So that's what this is for. So we're just going to push into our queue all the level names. Okay. And then we're going to be looking in this queue to see if there's anything in there. And if there are, we're going to run it. So we will do that inside of on user update. And preferably, I would like to make another function just to handle that. I can't believe it. Channel points. Yeah, there's channel points now. Hi, Blah. Welcome. Oh my gosh, Blah subscribed. Yay, Blah did it. Blah subscribed to me. Oh, thank you, Blah. You get all exclusive access to me now. Congratulations. I can't believe I lived long enough to see this. Oh my god. You're funny. God. But yes, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. Alright, so we're gonna go under... actually, loading screen update would probably be a great place to show that, but that's only if the console's not showing. Maybe not the best idea then. Let's just add a new update function, specifically for the loading... what did I call this? Oh, the tile group data file. We'll just have a tile group data file, a static function called like run map cache queue. So essentially what should happen is we will call this and it will call all the load level stuff for us over and over. Why the change on channel points? Well, honestly, for one, I just don't feel the same way about, like, not... I guess, like, if people want to support me and what I do, then I'm kind of all for it. Like, I appreciate that. I think now that I don't necessarily do streaming all the time, I don't really feel an obligation to stream. I kind of just do it when I can, right? And so that shift from it feeling like an obligation because people support me and want to see it to, okay, I just do it when I can now, kind of shifted my whole mentality. It's like, before it felt kind of forced. It's like, oh, the way I thought about it was like, you support me in what I do, and what I'm doing is constantly streaming, right? That would be like just what I did all the time. I kind of stopped doing like constant streaming, not necessarily on purpose, but because of life changes. And so now when I get the chances to stream, it's only like maybe a couple hours per week. It's not necessarily all the time now, so it doesn't feel much like an obligation anymore. It feels more like an appreciation for what I do instead. Does that kind of make sense? I don't feel like it's as forced now. Okay, I'm glad it kind of makes sense. Just the realization of that, like, it feels good to be supported, and I really appreciate it, honestly. I don't expect it to be like a serious thing, obviously. I don't have a large viewer base or anything, so I don't really expect the money from that to be a significant contribution to what I do. But of course, any money I do receive, I would put back towards things that go towards the stream anyway. So either way, I appreciate that. you kind of got to see the kind of evolution of that, I guess, of me over time. So that's fun, quite literally, right? Which is awesome. So we're making a public static function called runMapCacheQ. Like, I used to not stream with the webcam, so there was that as well, right? Like, a lot has shifted, a lot has changed about my life since then. I guess the only problem with doing this is that the thing we need to access is an adventures in Lestoria.h, so I would need to get access to that. Which means I kind of want to just throw the queue into here, because it's going to make sense. This is what manages it. So I'm just going to throw it in there. It's not going to be public, though. Let's hide that. It is not for anything to edit. Just for us to edit. And we need some kind of function to add to this queue. So we'll call this like add to map cache queue. And we just provide a map name. So the map name gets stored in or pushed into the level caches to run queue. And that is that. It's been quite the journey, but I'm happy you're happy. Thank you. I am indeed very happy. Okay, so since we made that, we're gonna go ahead and update this under the prepare level function. 1, 2, phase 5. No, we're going back to that admin command. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. So this is under console, not console show, but on console command. So under here, this doesn't exist anymore, so we'll change this out for tile group data file : add to map cache queue. And then from there, we're going to call load, of course. So run map cache queue is going to see if level caches to run dot hello. Oh, the structure needs to be static as well, and we'll also make it inline. That way it's defined here. We don't have to put in another place. Although I guess we don't need... Let me see. Do we need inline for this? We do. Because if we don't inline it, we can't define it here. We'd have to define it somewhere else so the compiler knows where to get it. But inline will just say, oh, we're gonna grab it from here, but if you name anything else that in any other file, then it's going to choose randomly between this one or that one to use. So that's the only thing with inline. You have to be careful if you define it somewhere else. So under here, we're gonna see if not empty, then our goal is to empty it out. So we're gonna start by loading everything. We're gonna call load a level here, essentially, and then wait for the load level phase to end. So basically we say, if it's not empty and not game loading, how do we know if it's loading? There's typically a variable, a boolean, that tells us whether or not the game is loading. I don't know if it's in here or somewhere else. But let's go to prepare level and look. Oh, it's under loading screen loading. Okay, so that would tell us. So in here, and not loading screen loading, then we're going to load a level. So load level, or we're going to call game load level. Oops. And we're going to load the map name in the queue. So we're going to do level caches to run dot. So we want to do front, because that'll get us the actual reference. And then after we call load a level, we're going to pop it from the queue. So level caches to run dot pop. And a queue works as a first in, first out container. So that means whatever comes in first is gonna be the first served. It's literally like getting in line for something. As opposed to a stack, which is a first in, last out stack, data structure, which means whatever got in last gets served first. It's like a reverse. Okay, so with all this in place, technically, the game's going to run through every single map and start loading the levels. One thing I did forget to add was a message to kind of indicate we're loading a certain level. I would like to do that. Oh my god. Hi, Plasticky. Please don't blow up my program. That would be great. So cute. Aw, thank you. Good to see you. Y'all stop. Y'all being silly out here. Okay. Let's go back to on command. And yeah, so it says generating map cache for blah. Well, not blah, literally blah, but for a particular map. Really, that message should pop up here. Oh no. Oh no, chat. Chat, calm down. Stop it. Stop it. Plasticky, stop! You're blowing up the chat, literally! Oh my god. God, you silly. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I need to use this in two places, so I'm going to actually store it in a variable and grab it that way. Map name, level to load. If I can type, that'd be great. Level to load is going to be whatever's in front, and then that can be const ref. That's not going to change. It does get passed into here. Presumably this gets copied, so it's not going to be a reference, right? Load level is a, let me see, it's going to be a map name, because yes, it's going to have to get copied. That way the value doesn't get lost. Requesting a bunny emote. I think I have a bunny slime in here somewhere. Hold on. Is that what this is? It is. Oh, I see what I did. How does one combat spam when the moderator is the one spamming? What is... We have an error. Loading screen is not a class or namespace name. So we have to include loading screen. I hope that's not going to cause issues. Because what does the loading screen need? What? Not found in current source files directory or in build system. Well, it literally let me add it, so it's gotta be in here. It's just, I guess IntelliSense is really struggling today. It just needs animate and queue. Perfect. So even that only needs queue, so that's actually wonderful. Not enough boo. Not enough boom. Game is also an undeclared identifier. That might be an issue because this is a header file. So adding the header file for Adventures in Listoria will be a problem because tile group data file is required. So we're gonna have to actually move all this into a header and declaration split. So we're gonna have to make a new CPP file just for this. Also, I need to fix this. I hate how the right-click context menu has added two things at the top here. So this is supposed to be tile group data file.cpp. God, you all are so silly. Yep, these are my chatters. We love them. Okay, so we should be able to just include tile group data file.h, and everything else kind of just falls into place. So for these, we don't need this. Actually, what is that? Because this is here, but is the CPP file somewhere else? I'm a little confused. Oh, okay, it's in map. I think I should move it because these are in a different location than I would expect. Or it's not called the right thing. Why is it called map, right? It should be called tile group. So I'm going to rename that actually. That's not a good name for a CPP file that holds a class called tile group. It just doesn't make sense. Okay. Yeah. So enum's already defined. We're going to define all these class functions. So we're going to need to add tile group data file : in front of all of these. And we're also, well, this is going to stay inline. I think that's, well, no, it's not okay if we have to define it out here, right? So now we get rid of the inline and static keywords on all lines. And then finally, we get rid of the wrapped class here, along with the private and public keywords. And we essentially have that now converted. I like to put variables up at the top. And then now we can actually include adventures in Listoria.h, and that in turn will let us include game, which gives us access to the game pointer. It looks like we don't include tile group data file in here. I thought we did, so maybe we don't have to do this. That's kind of weird, right? Oh, we need it in the CPP file. Never mind, so we don't have to do this. I was wrong. I keep forgetting it was in the CPP file, so this should be okay. Assuming no other header file needs this, which I don't think any other header file uses this. So I think we're good. If we get some weird error messages, then it's likely because we did this when we weren't supposed to. Okay. So with that, I'm going to delete the file I just made, the tile group data file. Can you move? Okay. And then let's try a rebuild. More importantly, if this isn't here, this should be moved to a tile group header file. But now that I think about it, why are they separate in the first place when they could be right in here, like defined? I think we were going to split it originally and then I just forgot. So maybe we don't even need that CPP file. Alright, so it's time to try this. Let me go to developer PowerShell. That's our debug log. Okay, so we don't even have to load the game. We just go into F11, I believe. And we can see there is a /generate cache command. So if we run that, it now begins. It does the loading process for every single map, and I think it should then write the file afterward, after it computes everything. Now it looks like it's just stuck, so I'm not sure why. That's weird. It's just stuck. Alright, why are we stuck? We gotta find out why. Where are we? So, let's just hit continue, and let's breakpoint on user update. I think that will give us a hint as to why we're stuck. I don't know why IntelliSense or Visual Studio in general has been so finicky lately. But let's just see if we can breakpoint in here. Okay. So the question is, what are we actually doing in here? Are we getting to loading screen update? And if so, what is loading screen update doing? It looks like we hit admin console. Oh, loading screen update doesn't happen unless the console is not showing. That's fascinating. I kind of want it to show, but I guess alternately I can just log to our output here as well. I was kind of hoping I could do it in the console. Alright, blah. Take care. Thanks for stopping by. And you have a good sleep. And thank you for subbing. I appreciate that. Okay. So I think I'm gonna just take this out and just put log. Okay. And let's go ahead and run that now. Because we have to exit the console for it to actually do that. Maybe we should force close the console when we do this. So, generate cache. Or, you know what? We could add something else. We could say, if we have something in the cache, we can run it anyway. Would that make more sense? I really would like it to be in the cache, I think, or in the command console. I think it makes the most sense. Yeah, let's just do it that way. I like that more. So I'm gonna change this up a little bit. The only thing is we have to actually expose something that says I have something in the queue. Has maps in cache queue. And we just return not empty. Or no, is that right? We return dot empty. So if it doesn't have maps, it'll return... Okay, if it doesn't have maps, it's supposed to return false. So if this is empty, this returns true, so reverse logic. And then if there are maps, this is supposed to return true. So this will return false, so we invert it again. So inverted logic allows us to use it here to say, or not tile group data file has maps in cache queue. Or excuse me, and. So if not console is showing and not has maps in cache queue. If either of those are true, we don't need the argument, then we're going to run these. They both have to be false in order for this to happen. Or excuse me, wait, no. If the console is not showing, or we have maps in the queue. Okay, I'm just having a little bit of a logic hiccup here, but yes, that would be the correct thing to do. I like this more because I really wanted it to just stay in the console, because we're running the command from the console. It only makes sense that everything appears in the console. Okay, let's go ahead and try this again now. So we're gonna go F11 / generate cache. Okay, and you can see it's just doing the loading in the background and generating it right on the spot. So I think we're at a point where we can just wait for all this to happen now. It's just gonna do its thing. At least I hope it does its thing. I wonder if it also checks like somewhere down here for the final phases. Like maybe it can't start unless this is done. Like, are we stuck again? And where are we stuck, right? Because we are running like global game updates. So are we in here? Are we in here? Like, it looks like we're getting through all this, so what is the hang up, right? We would be in loading screen update, and update with console you'd be calling what? Like, maybe this is stuck on doing something. Let's take a look. If loading phases outside is greater than 0, otherwise loading is false, like, that we can't actually get to. Are we still, do we still have loading phases? Like, it looks like we're just stuck somewhere, right? Are we loading at all? That's the next question. Are we loading at all? Is all of this optimized out? We can't even stop here. How would we be able to... Well, maybe we can go into this draw function. Okay. So we are in here, and that means loading is true. Total progress is 18 and current progress is 11. So this is important because it tells us what stage we're on of loading. So if we go to our loading phases, we can probably see where we're at in terms of levels. So let's imagine here we loaded stuff like this. Defer load. Oh, you know what? Maybe this stuff doesn't update? Let's take a look. Like, I don't know which phase we're on, right? Are we on this phase? I wish I knew. But we can go here again and look at loading phases. So there are 7. Okay. That's interesting. 7 loading phases remaining. So it would be like at phase 1, 2. I don't understand what this is about. If map data, okay. Then get prepare BGM loop iterations, add phase. So is it going in here? I guess it... Alright, I guess it's time for debug mode because apparently this doesn't work. Funny enough, we have to debug the thing that we're trying to set up cache-wise. Something's just getting stuck. I did say we don't have to load audio, right? So shouldn't it have skipped all this anyway? Like, it should have skipped the audio loading parts. Oh, actually, we removed that part. Okay, that might be the issue. It might be trying to load audio stuff, and we don't care for the audio stuff. And maybe it's getting stuck. So that's a big thing that we might have to look at. Okay, I don't know what I just hit, but we might not need to do this. At least I hope we don't have to do this. Do this. Okay, I'm just gonna let this finish, but we need to go back to release mode, of course. Hi there, good luck with your project. It's still black magic for me. I'm more into C#. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a wild ride. I'm just going to stop this. We don't need to build this. As I say that, it just finishes. Anyway, we're gonna go back to release. I decided that it's probably just hanging up because of the deferred loading due to loading the music as well. So we're actually gonna say we're not changing the music. No music change. Okay. Let's try that. Okay. Because I can imagine if we start the level or the audio loading for one stage, which is happening in the background because it's threaded, then when we start up the next stage, it's still trying to load the audio for that stage. So now we have this like conflict. I think that's what's happening. We kind of have this like, what do you call it? Like kind of a race condition, a self-created race condition. Alright, so we're gonna try generate cache. Yeah, it looks like this time it just skipped to the end of the loading phase. But then I got an unhandled exception. No focus areas included in the intro map? What? Oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. Choose random focus area. Oh, that's interesting. Because it thinks our state is currently main menu. It hasn't adjusted the game state. So I think what we should do... Normally when we finish loading a level, we call on level start. That doesn't do anything. It's just gonna... It's supposed to... So after we do a load level, typically we change the state of the game. So maybe we should do that, right? Let me just think real quick. Because normally we're on the intro map, so all the intro map stuff is expected to exist. So instead, if we go for like... I'm trying to think how we would handle this. And it's like, I'm gonna need to change the state at some point. The most logical way would be to just do it here. Where after we call load level, we're going to change the state ourselves. So we'll call like change state, or no, it would be, I think game state. Yes. So we would call change state. And we can just say we're like running the game or something. States. Let's just call it game run. We could even call it overworld map, but I'm gonna do game run. That is a generic one. And I think that will make sure that we're not gonna run into issues with the game thinking, oh, we're on the title screen or anything weird like that, and it starts breaking. I'm also gonna pull up the cache folder while we're in here. That way we can see all the cache files getting populated as the game writes them. Or maybe we won't. No, there's a save pack call at the end here. It should still do it. Okay. Slash generate cache. Warning, previous loading phase was not properly cleared. This probably means part of a previous load did not execute. Okay. So apparently we can't do that either. I guess because loading screen reset changes it. Let me see. What? Hold on. On state change. Recall. Like, where does this error even come from? Loading screen reset? While loading phases dot size is greater than 0. Oh, that's interesting. So it's more like we have to do this state change ourselves after the level loads. But we have to kind of tell it, hey, we're like in this loading thing, or this map cache queue thing. I'm trying to think how we would set that up. It's like, it happens when not loading screen loading, so once that gets set again, once loading gets set to false, it will do the next one, which presumably happens here, right? No. Where does loading get set to false? Clear garbage. Oh, you know what? It gets set to false when it finishes in here. Under, update. So this is where it does. So then it calls game state on level load. And we need to change the state at this point. So it'll say, okay, let me think about that. You know what? I have a better idea. When we run the command, let's just actually set it at that point. I think that makes the most sense. Just change the state of the game ourselves. That way we're not in a bad state. So let's put it under /generate cache. We know we have to be here. Also, this needs to be set. So we're only going to set this to false when it finishes. So let's see here. I feel like we need another state variable. We need to be able to say, okay, everything... This command has finished executing because every single map cache has finished. So, you know what? Maybe I could just do in the end here. So, if loading is false, then this always gets set to false no matter what. No, that's not necessarily true. This only gets set to false when the last map... Okay, so it'll be like if not... group data file. My brain explodes, but I enjoy watching people smarter than me. Well, everybody's smart in different ways, so I wouldn't discredit yourself. But yes, this project is mighty complex, so it gets pretty hard to follow if you just are randomly tuning in, but at least I like to present the programming like thought process in the hopes that it kind of gives you an idea of at least what programmers like have to think about when they're writing code, especially for people that are like interested in starting programming or game development specifically, and they're trying to do programming. It's like, how do you go about figuring out these things? What do you think about? Why do you make certain decisions over others, right? I think that part is really important to understand. So, at least I'm hoping the commentary brings some of this to life. So, oh, we don't want to do that. So we're gonna see if there are no longer maps in the queue, then we know we can set this variable to false. Although this variable is stored in Adventures in Lestoria, so, and I don't think it's public, which means I would have to force this class to see it. I don't know if I like that. I don't even know. It might be a friend class already. Okay, it's not. I'm not sure how I want to do this then. I guess I will just grant the loading screen to be a friend class of Adventures in Lestoria. I think that's an okay decision. I don't think that has any catastrophic downsides to it, since the loading screen is has very minor access to the game anyways. It doesn't really do much. it's a pretty safe thing to do. 22 plus years of programming life, yeah. I've been around for a minute. Yep. Mostly been developing funny little games since I was around 10 years old, so just a lot of like built up programming knowledge over a very long period of time. And I didn't even start game dev with programming. I started with a game maker, and game maker has this like drag and drop system, so you can like place blocks together, kind of like Scratch. So in a sense it was a visual programming type of deal. And that's kind of how I started, and then I realized that there was a language behind all that, so I learned GML, Game Maker language, and then from there I started transitioning out of that into Python, PHP, Java, C#, C++. I just started going all over the place based on what I needed. Bash scripting. It just kind of all followed in sequence naturally. Once you pick up the programming concepts, you basically can manipulate computer systems to do anything you want, which is pretty awesome. So currently the flavor of the month is C++. I've been doing it for about 6 years now, and I still like it. I haven't really decided to switch from C++ to anything else yet, so I like it. It's pretty nice. It's also been a lot of fun because of this OLC Pixel game engine, which the creator actively maintains and has a nice community that I am a part of. Alright, so now we have another exception. Integer division by 0. Oh boy, why? Get current map data. So somehow that is an issue now. Get current map data doesn't return what we're expecting? I wonder why. I wonder what this would return then, because get current level would be what? Let me see. What would this return? So current level is story? Oh, it's a story level, so there's not going to be any, like, rendering map data. So basically, we need to make sure the state of the game is... Well, this is dumb. We don't want story levels to have caches. That makes no sense. So we gotta exclude story levels when we do this. People really love to complain about C++. But what about Rust and Zig and Odin? No, use C with classes. God. I think actual C++ is way more fun than C with classes, though. Obviously, when you're starting with C++, if you come from, like, a C background, then you naturally try to treat it that way, but it turns into so much more. It's beautiful and crazy at the same time. I just picked the right language for the job, whatever I'm comfortable with. I'm not building a web app out of C++, you crazy? That's a death wish. Isn't C like pointer based? Pretty much, it's low-level management in general. Like, your standard libraries are very slim, they're very simple. The simplicity is both a godsend and a curse at the same time, right? Because you essentially have to build all of your data structures. There's no linked list, you make the linked list. There's no, like, strings, you design the strings. The string templates the way you want. Most of the time you just use a null terminated char array, of course, but like there's no rules, you kind of just go with the flow. You have to build your own systems from a very low level standpoint. C++ tries to give you some higher level stuff, so it's a layer above C, but it's not necessarily C-like either. It has some rules similar to C, but then it adds so much more, and I think that's what makes it not really C anymore. Because once you start using the C++ stuff, your code stops looking like C altogether. Like, nothing I do here really is C-like, except maybe if I have to throw in a raw pointer every once in a while and dereference it, they'd be like, oh, that looks like C, and maybe enums, but other than that, not really. WebAssembly, though, yeah, WebAssembly is amazing. The developer of this engine added mscriptin, what do you call it? Added mscriptin compatibility maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it's really cool to see that you can make these like games and then export them to the web. The easy way out, which is C#. I think C# is pretty nice. I haven't played around with it as much as Java, but I think I like it more. Like if I went to try another language, I think C# would be a good candidate. I see C# around a lot. Okay, so we need to not generate levels that are story levels. I think the levels file actually includes whether or not it's a story level. I could be wrong. Oh, it's just not in this file. Wait, is that right? Okay, so story levels are not in here. So why are we trying to process story levels? Oh, I guess maybe those get added into the levels too. Now I gotta look at this more. Because we assumed, if we go back to our onConsole command function, that generate cache, that map data only had actual stages, but apparently it also has story levels in it. So that means whatever appended to this map originally did that. So we gotta figure out which ones are story levels only and not include that. So now I'm trying to think if we have an easy way to detect that. But I think what we do with the overworld map, let's go to that real quick. In the overworld map level, state, we want the state, not the window. Hello? Okay, apparently it doesn't want to pop up. Game states, let's go look. Game states, state overworld map. So inside of here, when we choose a level, it's going to be somewhere around here. I don't see where we do that. Oh, you know what? There's a button. So maybe we were supposed to be in the window. When we click a level, you can see here, we just literally check if it begins with story. Okay, so I guess that makes sense. If map name starts with story, we do that. I feel like that's pretty crude, but it makes sense. We call all of our story stages story, so let's just do the same thing with our onConsole command. And we'll say, if not, level name dot starts with story. Oops. I already had that copied. Then we'll go ahead and add it to our map cache queue. So let's try that out. But yeah, I don't really subscribe to any particular language being any better than any others. It's just choosing the language that you are interested in learning or using for whatever project you are. Sometimes it's based on what the project type is, but also sometimes it's just based on what you're trying to learn or develop in. So there's many reasons to choose languages over each other. Not necessarily just, oh, this is better. I don't think there's a such thing as a better language. If I wanted to use something like Basic, or there's like another flavor of Basic now that's more modern with like some AI features, which is hilarious. But then I would probably choose that because that's what I'm currently learning. Reddit would like to know your location. Well, that's just what people do, right? They just try to create a fuss over nothing, really. Okay, what level are we on now? Because we can't possibly be on a story level now. But we're still getting a tile size of 0. It must be something weird. Let me see. What is our variable? Current level is story... What? We're still here. I literally just fixed this, didn't I? Maybe map name is not what I think it is. Let me think. What is map name? I could have sworn it was the actual level name, but it might just be the stage name, which is a little different. Not quite right. But it would be like story, lowercase, well, capital S, lowercase everything else. Because that might be what's quote-unquote called. Okay, I did the right logic, so I guess we're just going to iterate through this and see what this has in it. Because I could have sworn that it was literally just the map name as a base, but apparently not. I just want to get these files generated already. That would be nice. So map data, if we look, let's look for story stuff. So there's story _1_1. It's weird that that's the only story in here. I wonder how that happened because there's no other story levels. That's strange, right? Is that a mistake? I'm starting to feel like that's a mistake. There is no story 1-1 in here, but it's in here. And then we're checking if level name... If not level name starts with story, so somehow starts with is not working. Because that is clearly a key with capital STORY. So you'd think that would be a match. Okay. I'm just gonna do a conditional breakpoint here. Show me what happens when level name is equal to story. Because that should not be the case. Oh. It's also optimized out. Okay, well, maybe us building the debug build ahead of time is handy for that. Hopefully it doesn't have to recompile everything. It's got to recompile everything. Dang. Unfortunate, but yeah. That's kind of weird that this code, this line doesn't work. Because starts with is supposed to return true if a string starts with the given string, substring, so I was expecting that to just work, but we might as well double check while we're waiting for the game to rebuild. Starts with... Checks if the string begins with the given prefix. The prefix may be one of the following. A string view SV, a single character CH, or a null-terminated character string. So, yeah. That's what we would expect. I find it strange that it doesn't work. Or maybe it did and I didn't rebuild properly? I feel like I did rebuild it, but maybe I didn't. Like, this line is a very simple... has very simple logic. This shouldn't be anything crazy. But yeah, let's try it again, shall we? What are those background images? They are just different images of Nico Yazawa from Love Live. They're actually from one of the Love Live gacha games. Are you that much of a weeb? Not really, actually. I'm less of a weeb than a lot of people think. But, like, I don't really spend a lot of time, like, looking at, like, anime and stuff. But, I mean, I enjoy it. Yeah, it's fine. I'm not against it or for it or anything. It's just media. I don't consume other media as equally as much, so I'm not really... I just don't consume much media in general. Okay, so yeah, let's do the conditional breakpoint now. I wanted it to be when level name is equal to story. Breakpoint cannot be set because no operator matches the two operands? Really? That's weird. We can't compare strings in here? I did not know that, but okay. Alright, well, at the very least, I guess we can do element 0 is equal to character S. Surely that's allowed, right? Capital S? Okay, that works. There we go. So, what happens? Does it work? Is the question. I just hit F11 and it ignored it, so that is the correct logic. It wasn't supposed to go into that if statement. So, with that in mind, maybe I just didn't rebuild the release build, like something happened. It's entirely possible. You would think that would be a rare issue, but maybe, right? Maybe I just messed up. It is rebuilding the CPP file, so that's a good sign. Why do I hate Lua? I really don't like the syntax for it. I think the libraries are a little weak, but I also... its uses are kind of limiting. A lot of times I'm trying to use Lua as like, for the same reasons as other people are, to like make it so games are moddable and stuff. And I just kind of hate the whole idea of integrating Lua into stuff. Like, if I were to design some kind of like plugin system or modding system for my game, I would just use C++ like compiled libraries. I think that's a pretty nice way to introduce mods, but a lot of times folks want to see like Lua, and I'm like, I'm just kind of tired of it. I don't really like it. So I think it's more the process of implementing Lua into a project than integrating Lua into a project than actually using Lua. It's kind of where the hate comes from. I always have like my little nitpicks for every language, including C++, so it's not like... the hate is not like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, don't ever use this language kind of hate. It's more like, these are the reasons why I dislike it. It's more of like an icebreaker thing. It's like, oh, that's cool, I also hate it, or I disagree, I think you're wrong. I do agree with that. It is a pretty portable scripting language, so there's a plus. There's always positives, right? Okay, what are we doing? Is this still trying to do this? There's no way, right? Let me look. Can I get in? Oh wait, that's not what I want. I want this. So, get current level. Okay, so I think what's happening is current level is not being changed. Interestingly enough. So maybe it's not that the map level is changing, it's that current level is not getting changed to what it needs to be. So what is responsible for the current level variable? Let's take a look. What actually writes to it? So... I also have all these temp files I have to get rid of, but... we're looking for any writes to it. I guess let me filter this by writes only. So we write to it in lines 2412, 4662. So this is... oh... interesting. We set the current level variable every time we call prepare level. So this is like, set it, put in all the loading screen phases, wait for the level to finish, but then I'm calling... am I populating it with something else? I don't think I am, because we are waiting between each loading phase to finish. Ideally, like, this should set loading to true, right? Oh, maybe it doesn't. What sets loading to true? Does add phase do it? Let me see. Because if we're not saying loading to true, maybe that's the whole issue. Where does loading get set to true? Let's find out. So again, we're looking for writes to the variable. Loading is set to true on line 2405 when we call load a level. Okay. So if we think about how this variable works is we're not loading, we're calling load level. Loading becomes true. All the loading phases get added. Game runs, or loading screen runs through the loading phases. At the very end it calls, or the loading phases are done. So then where does... alright, right here. So once loading phases dot size is equal to 0, loading gets set to false. This gets set to false, and on level load gets called. Maybe this is the issue? Let's see. I don't think so. I don't see anything here that would do that. But the error is coming from... what is it called? Render world. So we're trying to... obviously, this is story 1.1, so we shouldn't be drawing something. But first of all, we shouldn't even be in story 1.1. So how does story 1.1 pop up in the first place? That would mean current level would have to be set to story 1.1. So we need to like put a watch on current level and see when it gets set to story 1.1. Oh yeah, we do debugging all the time. It's probably the thing we do most often on the stream. Naturally. Since there's so much going on. It's realistically the only way to keep track of everything. So I'm just gonna do a current level as a watch. And what we want to do is find out when... Oops, I didn't mean to filter for it. I meant to add one. So let's do game current level. And we want to watch for when this changes to story 1-1. So we'll add a conditional breakpoint. I'm actually going to restart the game. And we're going to watch for when that gets changed. It might not show up in release though, so we'll have to see. I hope it shows up in release. We can hope. So let me break on somewhere around on user update. Real quick. We'll go ahead and watch for when this changes to story 1-1. Story _1_1. So we can compare strings. Oh. Wait. Wasn't it just a string? Like, see, that is a string. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Oh, it doesn't let me. Like, I can select it. And then I hit enter. Yeah, it lets me. What the heck? But then if I change it, it complains. What's going on? I don't understand. Does that actually work? I mean, it's hitting the breakpoint, so... I'm so confused. Yeah, the game is called, Adventures in Lestoria. This is, that's how you spell it, in case you're wondering. And it is a 2D action-adventure RPG game. Strange, okay. Trying to think how else we're gonna do this. Well... I guess we're going to breakpoint on all the locations where we do change it and go from there. So let me pull up once again the current level. Maybe? I do have to get rid of all these. I don't know where all these temp files come from, but they're still in my project. I think I'm just gonna have to delete the directory because they're not even supposed to be there. So let's see. Yeah, I don't know why these are here. Where is this? This is in appdata local temp.dwsrc. Like, why are we even looking there? That's my question. Why are we even looking in here? What was it? Kind of want to just get rid of them because they keep popping up. Appdata local temp. DW source. Oh. There's like just that in there. I wonder why. Anyway. And then there's one here. What about this one? It's like it just keeps creating them. Why is this happening? Entire solution. I guess I could just filter it by current project. Apparently the entire solution... Oh... I think I get it. There's probably something in my solution that's like including these temporaries from somewhere. I probably need to look later. Okay. These can't be the only places where I write though. There's gotta be more. Like we have to change it at some point, so there's gotta be more than this. I'm confused. Let me see what this says. Well, now this only says there's one right as well. I am very confused. Maybe I should restart Visual Studio, like it's having a stroke. Let's try that. Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Yeah, so in each place where we do this, I think we're gonna have to breakpoint so we can keep an eye on it. And we're gonna have to try and see when they get set to story 1-1. If they get set to story 1-1, which is what we're expecting, right? So if map is equal to story 1-1, we'll breakpoint. Because that's what we're interested in. It's the only problem we're having right now. More importantly, I need to figure out, should I figure out how that's getting in there? Because I think we need to figure that part out too, eventually. I'll just like add a line of code and we can breakpoint on it. Stop here. silly as this is, that will work. We can do the same in the other two places. So we got one... We have an underscore set current level function. Well, that one's pretty easy. We just breakpoint on it there, but again, I want it to be conditional, so we'll do that. And then we have another right here. That's just the header file, so we're good. Oh, and then we want a breakpoint there, of course. Hopefully they don't get optimized out. I don't see why they would. Oh, it looks like it did. Okay. Crud. You can tell because it moves when it starts. That's fine. We have both executables built, or up to date pretty much now, so that's fine. So we're gonna hit that command again, and then one of those two places should cause it to become story 1.1, and then we can try to figure out the cause of that. We'll take a minute though, because we are debug. Debug mode, fun mode. Okay. Generate cache. Okay, so we did hit this breakpoint, so let's figure out what changed it, or what caused it. So at least we can figure out the state of our program at this point. So clearly current level is now story 1.1. The only way this would have occurred... Oh, there's an on-state change. Load level based on get current connection point. Oh, you know what? The current connection point is story 1.1. That's where you start at the beginning of the game. So if we call game run on state change, it calls load level. That's interesting. So we basically invoke a load level when we start this, before it even does anything. So that's why we're switching to story 1.1. It's not because that map, well, I guess that map does have it, but we don't access it. That's not the reason we access it. This is just another load. So basically it's trying to load story 1.1 on an unknown state. Stories are always supposed to run in the story state. So essentially, if we do this, we need to write something that ignores the whole, that basically ignores running the on current level or on state change function. I don't know if I like that, but we gotta think of some way to incorporate that because all this stuff is like built into our game. So I would say only do this if we're not generating maps. I guess that's a fair way to do it. Because whenever we're preparing the level or loading the level, if it's got, okay, yeah, I like that. We'll just say if tile group data file, we need to include it, has anything in it, then we don't run this because we know we're going to be doing processing instead. So in fact, we can go even further and say don't do on state changes for any given state. So we can go to the generic or the parent game state class and just not run that. So we have a change state function here where we call underscore change state, which is the internal change state function, which calls everything else. So as we can see here, this is responsible for calling all the other on-state change functions. So I think we just write it here instead. That makes the most sense. So we say if, and I'm gonna have to include that there now instead. You're 32, but you look like 55. Oh my god. Explain? I don't know what you want me to explain. I look how I look. That's it. Did C++ make you look older? No? Okay, so I forgot what I was doing here. Okay, so yeah, if tile group data file has maps in cache queue, then we're not going to, so we're gonna say if there are no maps in cache queue, run on state change. Because then we actually care about this, but we don't care about it when we're just simply running the cache. So here we go. I think that should fix that. And then I can't think of anything else that we're gonna have to do, so hopefully we get no more troubles. And we can go from there. Alright, so generate cache. And it still happens. Although maybe for a different reason. Oh, what? Must have clicked something weird there. But current level is still story 1-1. I did rebuild it, I swear. If not has... So does this still occur? That's the next question. Like, maybe there's no maps in the queue yet? Okay, let's think about this. So... the first time we called load level, when is that? That would be right here. And clearly, there would be stuff to run. So, yeah. That's confusing. That's very confusing. Because that logic would make no sense. We add it inside of onConsole command. OnConsole command would add to our map cache queue, which simply pushes these in. So then it's populated. So there should be no, like, level... Oh, the game state change happens before. Okay, that's why. So now, what do we want to do? We still have to change the state, but I guess it would be after this, because when we add them to the queue, they're not necessarily going to run yet. So we can do this after. And that should be okay. Now we're not actually running it, and the queue is populated. Apologies if that was offensive. Well, just general advice, in case it's not clear. Telling anybody they're older than their actual age is not a very nice thing to say. So it's something probably to keep in mind for anybody you interact with in general. Just some advice. Generate cache. Okay. Ooh, we're actually getting somewhere now. Okay. Well, we might have actually done it, which is great. Oh. And a hub level should only be initiated in the game hub state. Oh. We probably don't... Well... We have a check to make sure we're in the game hub state for the game hub level. The game hub level is the, okay. I mean, we could write a separate conditional just for that. I would still like to make it so that level gets cached. That would be nice. But we do have a hard check here. So maybe we just ignore this check only when we're doing this? I guess this might be the only exception. So yes, let's maybe do it that way. It looks like I have other exceptions here too, so I think adding one more doesn't harm too much. Oh, don't worry, my error macro when that happens is it goes to this, like, I guess it's like it logs to a file, it logs to cout, and it just and it returns an exception. It throws an exception, so we can either catch it and look at it, or we can look at a file, or we just, like we just did, we just inspect what the string is at that moment. So it works out. Yeah. Thankfully. Because if I just threw it and didn't do anything with them, like, oh great, now I have to actually catch it and look at it, like, that would not be productive, right? So at least that's nice. Okay, so level caches to run. Oh, it's gonna be tile group data file. So if we don't have maps in the cache queue, we'll run this check. So we're gonna add that as another exception so that we can also generate the hub level or cache the hub level as well. So yeah, as we can see, there's more cached files now, so that's always nice. So we're making progress. This is ideally what we want. So hopefully we can get the rest without it crashing anymore. And then I just have to run this every time we regenerate, like, a map, so I might auto add a feature to do that next. Like, when it detects a new map, generate the cache on the fly, so we don't have to do this in the future manually, right? So that would be nice. But yeah, we can see it doing that now, so that's fun. This is kind of what we've been ultimately trying to get to throughout the last 2 days, so I'm glad we finally have reached what we wanted. We just get to wait for it to finish or crash again. What happened this time? So another integer division by 0. I wonder why. Did it go back to the story mode again? It's campaign 4B1. That's interesting. Why would that cause problems? Is the map not finished? Let me see. Let's look at campaign 4B1. Well, I'm looking at it now. It's definitely got stuff in it. So there is that. Maps? Commercial assets? I'm a little confused. Did I maybe put the wrong file name? So let's look at the entry for it. Oh, I did. I put boss 4B. That's... Is that right? Oh, that might be right. So we are looking at the wrong one. Boss 4B. Oh, it just doesn't exist. Shouldn't that have aired out way earlier then? That's weird. I guess it did retrieve it from here, so we should add some code that says, hey, this map does not exist, so do something about it. Let's do that. So this would be like when we initialize the game configurations, where we load levels. So that would be like... Where do we load levels? Come on. Map data? Let me see. Oh, there it is. Initialize levels. So in here, let's see. So if map data find is not equal to map data.end, add it. But we should check for the existence of the file it references at the same time. So right here, or let's see. Because we literally just set it right now. Okay, so the name is populated like this. Where does it parse map? Oh, right here. Initialize level. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. So this doesn't actually tell us if it failed. We just assume it worked. Okay, okay. Because we do have a way of failing this, I think. Oh, never mind. We don't. It just returns a void. So we're under the assumption that if the file doesn't exist, nothing happens. I think. It's like, okay, file. Tries to read. If file good, then it, yeah. So let's back up a little bit. We need to first even know if this file exists. So if not standard file system exists, whatever the map file is, then we're actually going to error out here and say warning. I mean, should we? I think we should. We should only add levels to this file that actually have, that actually exist. We shouldn't add invalid maps. That doesn't make any sense. Map file, whatever, does not exist. So we'll do a standard format. Does not exist. And then we'll put map file. Okay. Does annoy? I used to mark every place possible to crash with number X number. Yeah, I'm just... Sometimes I don't want it to necessarily crash, but something like this I want to crash because the game technically will crash if we go and select the location with this map, because it'll be like, oh, now it crashes. Well, I'd rather detect it before we get to a point where it actually is fatal. Because imagine releasing the game with a missing level or an invalid level. It would be nice if we tried to run the game and it crashes immediately, telling us we're missing a level. So, that's usually the logic, at least. If we can get the error, if we can catch the problem when the game is loading, that is the best time to do it. Okay, so I just want to make sure this works. And then if it complains, we've done our job. Try catch. I mean, try catch does exist in C++. I've never really adopted the pattern though. It has its quirks. It can be useful, but I feel like it makes the code really verbose. Like, as you can see, I tried to only make the error be like, oh, on one line. I didn't want to write a whole bunch of stuff for it. It's in a lot of languages. Oh, there we go. Yes. So, there it is. So, yeah. At this point, I'm just gonna comment it out, and eventually we'll add it. And we should be good. When we actually make the map, it'll be back. And so now, the game will load without it. Oh, it's still complaining. That's funny. I gotta comment out the whole block, I guess. That's kind of weird. I guess it's a quirk of the format. I'm just gonna delete it then. It's a custom data file format, so I don't really want to make that a thing right now. But technically, if there were just braces all by themselves, I would rather consider it not valid, like a valid part of the syntax, but oh well. Anyways, let's do this one more time, and hopefully we're good. Unless something bad happens. It's kind of cool to just see all the maps load in the background. That's always fun. Did we do it? Campaign 4.7 is where it's stuck. I'm not sure why it's stuck. I'm not sure what you mean. You can't stop it from building the levels? I don't really... I'm not really understanding here. I'm basically preloading these levels. Like, we wrote some code to make the levels load without... before the game actually starts using them. You can't stop it from caching? I don't think so. Only because I didn't write code to do that, so no. For some reason, it's stuck somewhere in here. I guess we're gonna figure out why it's stuck now. Like, I'm trying to imagine what could it possibly be. But we're clearly in here. I'm just gonna go to... I assume we're still in loading screen update. Oh, we're not. So we're not on the loading screen anymore. Are we still doing this? Apparently not. So that's telling me loading is now false. And there are no maps in the cache anymore. So I guess the game just isn't loaded in a state that loads properly now. So let me think why. I guess what we could do is when we're all done with this, we just reset the game state to a known good state. So let's say, oh, sorry, in here, because the logic goes, set this to false, and then we call on-level load. Now, on-level load is what's doing it, I think, because now it's trying to do, it will be in game run, and I think it's at this point it will do that on state change too. So what is get current connection point dot map? It's probably going to be that story 1.1 again. So then it's trying to do whatever it's trying to do, and it's probably just stuck in a permanent loading state. So maybe we want to reset back to like a previous state, a good known state. I'm just trying to think how I would handle this. So while this is going on, we know there were maps in the cache queue before, so we can use that as like a way to trigger it. So we're gonna say if this is true, then we know we were previously loading stuff from the map cache queue. Otherwise we'll just do this. So what I'm thinking is let's just set the state to like the intro map again and load the intro map. I think that would be a fair way to go back to a known good state of the game. So let's just go back to main menu and let's load the intro map again. Load, well, game, load a level, and no, it's okay. It's totally okay. I wonder if I'm just gonna have to put intro map here. I don't think I really have any other choice, so I guess I'll just go intro map, and we can just say play level music again. Technically, by doing this, we're back at the beginning of the game. At least I hope. So I want to try this one more time, because I need the command to at least function properly. That'd be great. Oops. I hate it when that happens. I'm like in the middle of looking at something, and then Visual Studio just switches the windows. Okay. Why is the character in the middle there? That's funny. I just noticed the character's like transparent in the middle of the screen. That's funny. Let me see. Slash generate cache. That's so strange. I'm gonna have to look at that. If that's actually a thing now, that's new. The character's not supposed to be there. Naturally. Alright, so presumably last time 4.7 was like the last level to do this loading thing, so maybe that's why we were having issues? But I also don't see the save file like saving. If I look here, the last time this file was written to was at 3:47 p.m., which was a little while ago, so it's like it's not doing it. But then I also see 4.8 was written, and I don't even see 4.8 in here unless, oh, they're just not in order. Okay, it's like up here. But yeah, 4.7 was the last one to be written to, so the loading phase is literally not finished yet. Okay. Well, just looking visually at the progress bar here, I notice it's barely filled, which is telling me it's right at the start of the loading process, which to me is weird. Any day now. Well, if we don't get hit here, then we know for sure that one of these two statements is not true, and it has to be this one. So we must be in a state where there are no more maps in the cache queue, which I would agree with, right? If we load in the last one in our list, there are no more levels in the cache queue, so I would agree with that. What we're really looking for is whether or not the caches are done, and I guess that would be indicated by this variable. So let's actually use that variable in place of this variable, because that's really what we're looking for. This variable is true while it's running. So I'm going to try that variable instead, as that means the loading screen will run through that section of code. Which means what I wrote earlier about resetting to a good state might not even be applicable, but maybe we do that just for safety anyways. Okay. And then after this, I think we can pretty much call it for the day. I don't think there will be much else we have to do for today. I kind of wanted to start on... Oh, let's look at that too. That's new. The character should not be in the middle of the screen, partially transparent. That to me is strange. And that was not happening before, I'll tell you that much. So weird. Okay. So this time we can see campaign 4.7 does load. And so our game should be in a state where previous loading phase was not properly cleared. Okay. Thank you for the follow as well. Appreciate it, Mazquick. Alright. So this occurred because we changed the state again in the middle of loading. Maybe we don't need this anymore. So this was more of like what we thought was happening, what wasn't actually what was happening. So I'm gonna remove that now. Was it here? It should have been here, I think. Yes. Okay, so let's just undo that. Did we even have else before? I kind of feel like... Interesting. Anyway, we're gonna go back to this for now. I feel like we didn't before, and we just always called on-level load, and on-level load just had no side effect before? I think that's what happened. on-level load only had a side effect for that story stage, which we ended up adding a conditional for. So that should be okay. Figuring out all the logic for this can get very confusing sometimes. I'm trying to think what change would have made the whole character not fully disappear. That is so weird. Did I just never notice it before? I feel like this has to be new. This definitely wasn't like this before. And you can see it's not here now, so I wonder why. Very weird. Okay, anyway. Generate cache. We might have to keep an eye on that because that might be a bug if it's just popping up randomly. The worst kind of bugs are the ones that don't happen consistently. Then it's like, alright, what state was the program in for that specific thing to happen? It's gotta be the worst kind of bug. When it happens, but only sometimes. Okay, so good news. We have done all that. So now we're in a state where we probably are just in a blank level. Yes. Good. So now that we are done with that, I guess we can leave. And I don't know what the game's gonna think now. Okay. I also don't know why the game's lagging. Like, really badly? Something's up. Is it my computer? Might just been my computer. I don't know. That was weird. Oh. Everything's broken after I do that, but the cache is at least loaded. I guess I still have a few little things to fix up. It's like, after I generate it, obviously everything's fine if I just use them as is, but if I have to generate it, the game's not in a good state anymore. So maybe we still have to... Oh, actually hitting load game here breaks something right now. Accessing out of bounds list item 4 of player? What? What is going on? So we're trying to access item 4 in a file and it doesn't exist? Which file is the question? Let's see. Metadata. So that's not helpful. Save file ID 0. Interesting. But yeah, thank you. Appreciate the follow and thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the stream. It's very strange. Let me look at this. So clearly item 4 does exist, so I don't think that's the issue. But accessing outbounds list item 4 of player. This would be an update game save data. So save whatever. So it has to be like the metadata actually. Maybe that got messed up. Oh, that's not what I want. Well, I mean, I could look it in there, but I don't really want to. Save 4. Okay. Or element 4. Oh, I see. There is a missing thing in here. How did that happen? Just no character name initialized? Oh, you know what? That's probably what occurred. At the beginning of the game, there's no character name. And then, so I basically just overwrote my character file, save file. Oops. And that's kind of important because it basically just saved whatever I had in there from before. So that comes from, because it always tries to save the game when it's loading, so that's why. I have to make it so the game doesn't save during this. Which would be... I'm not sure where save game would be. Save game. There's gotta be one somewhere. Oh, apparently it's not called save game. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's to reset the player as well. That makes sense. Does the save game occur here? No. It must occur somewhere, though. Maybe it's on a state change. That might be what it is. So we go to the game run state again. Somewhere. Where's game run? Okay, right here. On level load, on state change, load level, set state to normal. I don't see a save game, which is kind of weird. I would like to just try to get some context of where we're going to be working on tomorrow. I'm pretty sure we have a save game class. Save file, maybe? Here we go. So save file. Where does this get called? Save game. That's load file. Oh my goodness. So much stuff. Stuff we haven't really touched in a long time either. Save game on state overworld map. Game hub. Overworld menu. I'm just trying to think where it would apply. Class selection window. Overworld menu window. I'm trying to think. If we go through like a game run, are we in overworld menu? I feel like we're not. We're just transitioning from state... Oh, start level. Okay, start level is what triggers it. Got it. Because then that calls change state to either game hub or game run. So that start level call is what does it. Okay. So I think at least we know where these calls are. One of these is probably gonna be it. We'll have to figure that out next time. So honestly, I'll probably just put breakpoint in here and we'll look it up. Alright. Cool. So technically we're still not done with this map caching thing, but we're getting very close. And it was a short programming session today, but we'll do some more tomorrow. So for those of you that tuned in though, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.